Homeschooling is so individualized, but I want to share with you what I do every day because so many people have asked, and maybe there's something that I do that might help you out in your journey. Every night I sit down at my desk, the one I am at right now, and prepare for the next day of school for my boys. I'm going to be honest here, it's usually with a glass of wine in my hand because, being a working homeschool mom is not easy and my days are super long, but it truthfully is worth every second to me. This planning process that I'm talking about right now can take anywhere between a half hour to an hour. I write everything in their agendas. Here's an example of my oldest son's agenda. They are not allowed to leave the house with these babies, ever, ever. This is like a Bible to us, but not the Bible, you know what I mean. Pretty much every day, we do every subject. There are some days when we take half days that we might not do every subject, or some days when we have other things to do, we want to focus on something, we might do less in another area, but for the most part, we do every subject every day. And what that consists of, basically, is sometimes I do a lesson, sometimes they have independent work or videos to watch, and sometimes they'll have a quiz or a test. Let's start with first thing in the morning. The boys have an internal alarm clock, pretty much, which gets them up really no later than 8:30. I am not the sleeping type, and I think I've instilled that in my kids too. They get up, they get dressed, they come downstairs, and we start our day over breakfast, and we review the agenda that I just showed you for the day. I usually let them know what time I'm going to be working with them independently during the day, and they know they have to be flexible. Sometimes I might not even get to teaching Spanish until 7 o'clock de la noche, but that's the nature of homeschooling. Plus, I work from home as well, so flexibility is key. The boys usually begin tackling their agendas with their independent work, and I use a combination of study.com, Khan Academy, IXL, and YouTube, and sometimes a few things from Easy Peasy for my resources. I also find a lot of worksheets online, and sometimes utilize Teachers Pay Teachers when I'm desperate for some quality worksheets that I can't find anywhere else. Another reason they do their independent work first is that I am not ready to dive into teaching before I have a coffee and I get a workout in. Once I have those two things, we are good to go. As my children do assignments, they get graded, and I use Homeschool Minder as my record-keeping program. My biggest advice to you is to keep up with that on a weekly basis. If you fall behind, it can get pretty overwhelming to catch up, and the harder it's going to be. There are many different things that Homeschool Minder can help you out with. Staying organized, attendance, lesson plans, student records, reading lists, and even keeping track of field trips. The kids will take a break around 12 for lunch. They'll eat lunch and they'll play video games. Right now it is Fortnite that they are obsessed with. They usually play for about 45 minutes or until they die or whatever happens in Fortnite. I've never had to tell them to get back to their work, and that's one of the things I love most about homeschooling. It has instilled a huge sense of responsibility in them, and they know when they have to stop and get back to the books. Throughout the day, we might run out to do something like fly the drone, go for a walk, or even ride a unicycle. We also might not do school at all, and we might go on a field trip. We usually take about 2 per month. Our days end anywhere between 3 and 5 p.m. depending on when we start. And to be transparent, sometimes we don't get to everything that I have listed in this agenda, and it was just too much work, or something happened and it took up some of our time and we couldn't get to things that we had to get to. This is life. This is not, we're not in, we don't have bells ringing about when the next class starts, and that's okay because that's what tomorrow's for. I rarely assign homework for my kids except reading. They usually do that at night before they go to bed, and they usually read 1 chapter every night or 2 and whatever book they're reading, which currently for my 7th grader is The Outsiders, and for my 10th grader is Lord of the Flies, which he loves, except for when Simon and Piggy die. Not nice. The reason that we don't have homework is because we use our time during the day so effectively, and there's really no reason to have any. On Mondays, I usually dedicate a part of the day to what I call Mensa Mondays, and for part of the day we watch TED Talks, and then we discuss the topic in depth that we watched the TED Talk about, and we apply it to current issues or other things in life. I think it's a really great thing to do, and it's really makes them think in a worldly sense rather than just reading and memorizing information. I also sometimes dedicate time to science labs. I've used Mel Science for that resource, and we all really enjoy them. We enjoy the experiments that they send. They send like 2 new science experiments a month, and truthfully, what kid doesn't love chemical reactions and attempting to blow things up? These experiments are pretty advanced. I would say they're for middle school and up, but it is a really great resource to consider. And that's about it, right? Pretty simple it seems, but make no mistake about it, what is summed up in just a few minute long video takes hours to do. But each day gets easier, and Really, when I think back, I was going to have a nervous breakdown my first few weeks of homeschooling, but that feeling passed and everything starts to click and each year gets easier and easier and easier. I want to hear about your homeschooling days. I want to hear how you structure your days, if you have no structure at all, what you do, what tips you have for the people that are watching this video. Leave it in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and as always, thank you for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you soon. Bye! You may have noticed this Band-Aid on my arm today, and that's because I got my flu shot today, and I encourage you to go get your shots too and to get your kids vaccinated so we can all stay healthy, because having the flu sucks. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again.